Let's see. Let's see. L and G, G or L. Let's do something with good luck.
What?
I'm looking at our initials.
Oh,
sorry. I was back to working on our introduction. I was warping it to me. Okay, this is a process that I have. It's not pretty. It's kind of like. Did you ever see that episode of Homeland where she's stitching stuff up on the wall in different colors of Post-its? It's a little bit like that, but without the Post-its.
That's kind of how it just always is up there, huh?
Oh yeah, that's just in the brain. That's the stack of multicolored Post-its.
Wow.
Oh, maybe that should be the name of this thing. A stack of multicolored Post-its. Very NPR.
And incredibly meta, because this is definitely the introduction to the episode. Hi, everybody.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. It is Geoff and Laz back on episode 2 of our PADDcast, and we
made it.
Excited to be here. Yes, we are.
We did it.
We did it.
They thought we couldn't.
We climbed the smallest mountain, but we still did climb it. And that is notable.
A second episode of a podcast wasn't possible, and we sure showed them.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we're actively showing them. We've not shown them yet. I mean, I guess, what's fingers crossed.
We will have shown them by the time you're listening to this.
Oh, okay. Let's hope so. I'm just saying fingers crossed.
That's true. We could yet snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
Oh yeah, 100%. But we're not going to. So you got to go into this with the right amount of confidence, and
a bit of aplomb.
Sometimes if you don't have competence, confidence is all you need.
Oh, good wisdom. I like that. That's a nice aphorism. And hey, speaking of kind of like nice little tied up neat bows, how about Star Trek Discovery Season 3, huh?
Wrapped it up with a big bow and a kind of unexpected couple wrinkles in that bow. Yeah. I mean, let's, before we go into our thoughts on the wrap up, what'd you think of the season? Like, where we at with Season 3?
So, Star Trek Discovery. Hang on. I don't know if anybody listening to this podcast know this.
Oh, well, actually, let's throw this up there at this point just for our listeners. Hey, spoiler alert. There's going to be from here on out. Consider yourself alerted to spoilers. That's important. There may be them. We don't want the rage later when you're like, oh, you didn't tell us Michael Burnham was a robot. Oh, my God. See, that would have been a spoiler, and you would have been like, oh, my God, you've been so angry at us. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. That is a big reveal, huh?
Michael Burnham is the Cylon. It's a weird
twist. Turns out Michael Burnham was the friendship we made along the way.
Michael Burnham was the real treasure all along.
That's right. Well, that is true, though.
Isn't it?
But Star Trek Discovery is a fraught topic within Star Trek fan communities, and sometimes for very pointless and crummy reasons. I'm having to edit myself because
petty.
This is a family show.
I think petty is the word that I've seen thrown around a lot. There is a place for legitimate criticism, and then there's the place for just being a jerk. And unfortunately, the being a jerk place has been real loud.
Yeah. So that's a bummer. And I found myself with the first 2 seasons as somebody who very much disliked season 1, and was warmer towards season 2.
Okay,
but felt, because I could kind of see that they were like trying to do something. Like season 1 felt
it was, believe it or not, the show's third soft reboot.
Right,
at that
exactly.
point, with the introduction of Pike in season 2.
Yeah,
and then I think we got soft reboot number 4
with season 3.
The end of the Red Angel arc. So that's so coming into this season, and then we kind of got a sort of soft reboot again, like halfway through the season.
Yeah, maybe, but so yeah, season 2. I didn't really feel like Control made much sense, nor the Red Angel really made much sense.
The only context in which I think that villain makes sense, and this is a theory that I've seen running around, so I can't claim credit for this, but I thought it was interesting. The only theory that I've seen that makes Control make sense as a bad guy is that there was a thought in the writer's room that this was going to be the origin of the Borg. That was going to be something that they were going to tie together, that somehow Section 31 had originated the Borg, and this was all some bizarre time paradox,
Frankenstein's sort of monster,
right? Exactly. Kind of we've made our own greatest enemy. Oh, what fools are we? And the feeling is that they were into that. They were going to do it. They even built the effects basically around all of those ideas. And then at some point at the 11th hour, they were like, actually, this is a terrible idea. Let's not do that.
Yeah. But counterpoint is that I felt like season 2 represented the writers trying a thing in terms of the format of the show.
In some parts of the show.
Well, but here's what I'm driving towards is that every single episode dealt with the concept of control.
Okay, sure.
I'm not talking about the stupid mystery box.
Right, no, AI the philosophical thing. Concept of who's in control of what.
Exactly.
And Spock, who suddenly has space dyslexia?
Right. And now we meet Saru's people, who the Kelpians that have been subjugated by whatever the other species name is. I can't remember. The Nagul?
Yeah, but they have big glowy ships.
Yeah.
Very impressive, which then turn into lots of little ships.
That's right. Which was a thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Say what you will about Discovery. The effects look great.
Oh, yeah. But so every episode took this concept of control and tried to look at it from a different vantage point and kind of really tease it apart. And I'm not going to say that they really achieved their goal, because I felt like even though each episode dealt with the theme of control, they are all kind of very surface level. And if you want to do
which is a criticism that's leveled at Discovery a lot, that it doesn't dig too deep a lot of the times, even when it tries to make big points.
And I agree with that. And I think that's actually what makes season 3 so much better.
Okay.
I loved season 3.
Wow. Okay. All right. Take me there, buddy.
Season 3 to me felt like if the original series, in terms of the tone and the goals of the show, were made today, it would probably be Discovery. Right? Going back to TOS.
Which for our younger listeners out there, if you have not dipped a toe in the water for TOS, it is worth it. It's a very different show.
It's very fun.
The modern shows. Many of the episodes have the beats and timings almost of a play, of a stage production.
Oh yeah, and they're silly. And
oh god, yeah, so ridiculous, ridiculous,
and gorgeous too,
but fantastic.
Yeah,
just so wonderfully insane in just the best way imaginable.
And I think also a really rewarding watch to kind of view it specifically as somebody that's alive today, revisiting what was, a progressive TV show from 50 years ago.
Yeah,
so
an ultra progressive TV show that got a lot of trouble for it. And it was part of the reason it didn't last.
Exactly. But I digress. So the point being is that, TOS deals with things in a pretty surface level for the most part. And it's silly. And a lot of the time it's a bit more focused on entertaining the audience and then just giving them a nudge to think about stuff.
Well, the joke in Futurama when Fry himself is pulled into a Star Trek trivia contest, he describes the original series as 79 episodes, about 30 good ones.
Yeah.
And guys, the Balance of Terror. Oh my God, it's amazing episodes. So the Doomsday Machine. Oh, it's just stunning. It's great stuff. And then you get stuff like giant Greek gods or Abraham Lincoln floating through space.
Whoa. Whoa. Who mourns for Adonais is kind of rad.
Yes, and also there's a Star Trek Continues episode that uses the same actor that's totally amazing. I'm
so glad you know
no, we're going too deep. We're going too deep, Laz. Pull back.
Yeah. Okay. Every time I think I'm out, it pulls me back in.
It's just like the wormhole. All right. Okay. So we were talking about Discovery Season 3 and how it is evocative of those TOS themes.
Yeah. It's bold in its messaging, and it's a little ham-fisted, and it's a little more focused on entertaining you while inspiring and encouraging and moralizing at you. And again, that is TOS. That's exactly what TOS does.
Yeah, I mean, they did an episode where a guy had a black one side of his face and a white other side of his face, and then another guy who he hated who had the same thing just on the opposite sides. Yeah. And what lesson could they be trying to tell us?
Right.
I don't think they hit me with it hard enough, kind of like Sledgehammer style. I didn't quite get it.
And so, like you said, much in the way of TOS, out of 79 episodes, there's like 30-ish good ones. That may end up being true of Discovery in the long run. I don't know, because I do think there's real shortcomings to that approach.
Do you think the show has got like 7-season stamina in it? Like, could they make it to like TNG or Voyager?
Soft rebooting it every season, I guess.
Well, yeah, so. I mean, there's that. Like, they could just Doctor Who this, because the ship apparently is bigger on the inside. So maybe we've just missed the signs.
You know what's funny is that
Michael Burnham is Doctor Who.
That
would be the way to top the Red Angel.
That is true.
She is actually a Time Lord.
Wasn't Brian Fuller's original hope for Discovery to be an anthology series that doesn't really stay in one place too long?
Was it? Oh, I hadn't heard that.
I remember reading about that a long time ago, way before the show came out and way before, because he had power wrestled from him relatively early on, and perhaps for very good reason, based on how traumatizing some of season 1 sure is, and contains things that I wasn't nor desiring to see in my Star Trek.
I've got a fun fact from the production on that one. The whole reason the Discovery looks the way that it does, with the kind of ball in the middle and the sort of swept back nacelles.
Yeah.
So, is there any other ship in TOS lore specifically that looks somewhat similar to, if you took away the saucer section?
Yeah. Very Romulan Klingon.
Yeah, very Romulan Klingon warbird. Yeah. Okay, because at some point during the course of the original first season, Discovery was going to get like trapped behind enemy lines or something like that. And you know what they were going to do?
Saucer Sep?
They were going to pretend to be a Klingon ship. So I think that idea evolved into what they did with the Mirror Universe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which one I dislike more. But I mean, there's a lot of dislike to go around.
Yeah. So there were challenges, but again, the first 2 seasons of the Next Gen.
Oof, tough.
Right? So
I mean, and we don't talk about what was it, Day of Honor, like the second or third episode?
Well, or flip side, we always have to talk about it because it's disgusting.
We have to apologize to so many different groups of people.
Yes.
We should just apologize to everyone, I think.
Now, I will say some minor fun facts about the episode.
Yeah.
So the episode was not written the way that it was depicted.
Didn't the episode seem like it was written at all.
Well, yeah. Dear listener, the episode we're referring to is the blatantly and virulently racist episode of TNG that I'm not going to explain in greater detail.
Code of Honor was it?
Yep. There, yeah.
Season 1, episode 4, and it is amazing that the show stayed on the air.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even so here's some fun facts. So, for one, the original script did not say use obvious racial stereotypes of black people. Right? The original script had none of that in. That was a decision made by the director.
Oh, jeez.
And that
he was director, like, this will make sense. This will help the people at home understand.
Well, so I think the original idea was that the Ligonians, is that the name? Does that sound right? Ligonians?
It does. I mean,
Something
but
like
it
whatever.
doesn't. It doesn't
The
matter.
alien of the week. The alien of the week was supposed
Ligonians.
to.
Actually, yes, Laz, 100%.
Nice.
You get 100 trivia points right there, buddy.
Great.
That's 100 quatloos for you.
The alien of the week, the Ligonians, were supposed to be more of like a reference to, I think it was like feudal Japan, which, that has its own problems because it's still stereotyping and
sure, but it also
lifting
makes
things from
sense
their
why they
cultures.
had such a strict martial code if they were trying to evoke the Japanese.
Exactly, because the story was referencing, again, not that this is necessarily a great choice, but it was referencing something related to real world things, and it's also not at all a white run American TV show depicting negative racial stereotypes of black people.
It was
right?
it
like
was
that hits a little different.
Yeah, it was
not saying it was good.
1987 wasn't good.
Yeah, that's not good. And so Roddenberry fired the guy. I've read two different accounts, either immediately following production when Roddenberry learned about it, or during the filming of the episode. So, like I said, I've heard two different accounts, but either way, that guy got immediately fired and shown the door. And so again, at least we can take some vague solace in knowing that there was repercussions for the person that made those horrible decisions.
Well, so interestingly, so you've got me going down the research hole right now.
Yeah.
And looking through the Wikipedia article, it lists two directors. So I checked the background on both of them, and Russ Mayberry was the original director of the episode, but the tagline in Wikipedia says he was replaced during production.
Okay.
By Les Landau, who went on to direct episodes for, I think, every subsequent Star Trek show.
Yeah, he's prolific.
Oh, and he also did Sequest. Wow.
Ooh.
Man, that was a great bad show. But no, we're not talking Sequest.
No, sadly. That's our other podcast.
That's the one that's for the dolphins.
That's right. Admiral, I'm receiving whale song.
Oh, God.
So anyway, season 3 Discovery, good. And I think it makes some salient points about contemporary socio-political issues, albeit in a sometimes clumsy and ham-fisted way, but it's also not taking itself so deathly seriously. There's a scene in, I think, the second episode where Michael Burnham gets stoned because guards spray something in her
sprayed
face
by some truth gas or whatever.
Something. Yeah.
Yep.
That,
which for some improbable reason makes her hilariously high. It was the best acting of the entire season.
It was the funniest thing I have ever seen in Star Trek ever.
It was one of the times where
it was
like
amazing.
I've watched 3 seasons of this show. It was some of the best acting that I've seen out of. I'm going to try the name. It's not going to go well, but I'm going to try it. Sonita Martin Green.
Stay with me now.
Okay.
What's up?
Take me there.
Is that not only is it very funny, I think that they use that scene, that hilarious scene, to introduce us to the fact that season 3 of Discovery is actually going to slow down and give us scenes. Full scenes,
like whole scenes, like where they like put
characters have dialogue and they exchange ideas.
Yeah, I mean it's new for them, and they're trying.
Well, I mean, they seemed repelled to the idea in the first season, in particular, if I may be so bold. I mean, it was really frustrating at times, but now that they're actually slowing down and letting their actors and their excellent cast act, give them things to work with. It's only showing how strong this show could have been from the get-go.
Can be at its good moments.
Yeah.
It is. It's tough to like. It really is tough to like at times. You
think even season 3?
So For me, and I think the people who are enjoying the development of the show, the development of these characters, there's nothing wrong with that. There's not.
Yeah.
I am not in a place where like my dislike of it needs to trump your liking of it. Like I'm not going to win it,
nor vice versa.
It.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that there's no competition there. And I think it's one of the dumbest things that happens in fandom is that you get these power blocks that think that either side has established some kind of superiority because, they've camped and they've said, no, I'm right. No, I'm right. That's just dumb. It's Star Trek, guys. Like, we all enjoy it. We do. And if that's the flavor you enjoy, awesome. Great. Because guess what? You just got a third season of it. And I believe that there already are plans for season 4.
So this is, you're getting into a thing that is like an academic pet peeve of mine.
Oh,
right. Like an academic interest of mine that is motivated because it's ultimately a pet peeve. Because I find it frustrating too of people saying like, well, my opinion about this thing is the correct one. Yeah. And
I have the right opinion. You guys are you guys are entitled to your own opinion and that you're wrong.
And you're wrong dumb in your for thinking that. Right. And like,
you're dumb and wrong. And I'm going to explain all those reasons. But you guys go ahead.
There's a thing that I will soapbox about briefly, if you will indulge me, and it's referred to as taste politics, right?
I will loan you Teller soapbox. Thank you. He needs it to get up to the high shelves.
Oh, but so taste politics is this idea that, or it's not really the idea. It's like the study, the observation that there are very specifically classed notions of art, right? Note connotations and denotations surrounding things like high art and low art.
Oh, okay. All right.
The kind of art that you see in a museum versus the kind of art that gets scrubbed off of the walls because it's a mural, but not the kind of mural that people want to see in their city because to them it's graffiti, right? Like who makes these decisions and what are the ramifications of that? And it kind of leads us to a place where people start talking objectively about art in such a way that doesn't observe and understand the multifaceted role of art in society. Meaning, like, there's nothing wrong with putting Rembrandt in a museum, because I'm not entirely sure that street art makes sense inside of a museum either.
Okay.
For street art's sake, right? That's kind of like removing it from its context, but that's kind of a big part of the point of street art is where it is. But when society makes decisions about the value of these different kinds of art, because it's like, oh, well, that's just graffiti. That's actually undesirable. We don't like that. That's beneath us, right?
And then you take that directly into the most toxic elements of fandom.
Exactly.
In your star universe of flavor. And we won't jump the gate and talk about those guys over there. I love me a Star Wars sometimes. But if we get into that, the conversation about what has happened in that fandom over the last 10 years. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Just those poor people.
Yeah, it's messy over there.
Oh, it's rough.
So, like, one of the other consequences of taste politics is that because now it's, like, personal. If you get caught liking a bad movie.
Very much so.
Right? Like, it means that you're, like, bad at
you're on the wrong team, media. And that means so many other bad things about you.
And so then that goes a step further to have a pendulum-like backlash of like, let people like things. Art is entirely subjective, and there is no way to discuss art amongst ourselves.
Sure.
It's like, also no. Now, those are cogent points of letting people like things. I'm only describing the pendulum swinging,
but it doesn't work universally, and there is always going to be subjective criticism. But it's about keeping that criticism in the right framework so that it is either useful, like this is an analysis of this thing's technical flaws. Like, hey, exactly. Look, he missed a brush stroke over there. He must have sneezed.
I'd even go so far as to say that with proper context considerations, sure. and thus like limitations of whatever, but we can even speak quasi-objectively about art, right? Meaning if we were going back to Rembrandt, right? If we wanted to speak objectively about Rembrandt, we could talk about technique and like in brush strokes, but I think we could even talk about things that are sometimes regarded as being more subjective, such as like composition, color palette, because if we have a reasonable and agreed upon mutually baseline of what we are measuring against, meaning like, say, Rembrandt's contemporaries.
Okay. Which, folks, if you haven't seen those, I recommend plugging yourself into Google for another 5 minutes and look at some nice Rembrandts. They're gorgeous.
Yeah,
they're
nice stuff.
Amazing color depth.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And like, right, so we could judge him, or his works, I should say, against the works of his contemporaries who are all working in similar styles and similar places. And we could say, oh, well, you know, this one doesn't seem to achieve certain goals of this style in these ways. And so in a sense, we can objectively say that this is a negative thing about it, that it's a flaw.
This guy doesn't know how to paint a horse. He did people great, but he does not know what a horse looks like. It's horrifying.
He kept trying to give him fingers. It was very upsetting.
Really, it's and human teeth. Really uncomfortable.
Anyway, all this to say is that, by creating this hyperpolarized space, we've made it impossible to talk about media with each other, which, you know, it's not the biggest problem in the world. Not even close.
And this is all important context leading into me saying, I thought Discovery Season 3 mostly sucked.
Yeah, exactly. And
that's okay, guys.
Yes, it's perfectly okay, because neither of us
can say that he really loves Season 3 and that it evoked TOS themes and that it worked for him and that the cast worked for him. That's great, because he's enjoying it and he's finding things in it that for me, maybe didn't land as much, or didn't effectively counterbalance other things that for me in the show were difficult to digest.
Exactly. And I would even be willing to go so far and to say that if we shared and like had agreed upon the same standards for evaluation,
sure.
Like if you would give me a spreadsheet of like grade the show on these ways, I bet we'd agree.
Oh, right. If you had a universal understanding of the criteria by which I'm judging it, and I, vice versa, had a solid, exact idea of every contextual clue that you're using to evaluate something, but then we would have created the perfect language.
Exactly.
And we're just not there yet.
Nope.
Esperanto, they were so close. William Shatner was very, very excited about it for a long time. He even did a movie in it and didn't quite get there.
Wait a minute. Okay, I knew about the Esperanto movie. I did not know that William Shatner was in it.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, okay, about what year did this movie come out? Is this still Hunk Shatner? I mean, no offense.
Yeah, 100%.
He's aging gracefully.
This was like, I want to say like 60s or 70s Shatner. Hang on a second.
Goodness gracious.
Let's see.
I know what I'm watching this weekend.
And also, I will say that apparently it is on YouTube.
Oh, fantastic. I know what I'm doing with the rest of my evening.
Oh, wow. It really is like peak Kirky William Shatner. It's 1966.
Ooh.
It's from before the original series.
So this is, wow. Okay. All right. Goodness gracious.
Incubus,
let's just hope he gets his uniform torn a few times.
William Shatner. Wow.
Incubus. So I'm going to assume that it's a horny movie. Is that PG?
If you folks will take a 30-second detour through Wikipedia, you might all find this interesting.
That's true.
Incubus Esperanto is a 1966 American horror film directed by Leslie Stevens, filmed entirely in the constructed language of Esperanto. The film stars William Shatner shortly before his work would begin on Star Trek. The film's cinematography was by Conrad Hall, who went on to win 3 Academy Awards for his work on Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, American Beauty, and Road to Perdition.
Yeah, this is
This is apparently a well-made film.
This is a real movie made by real 100%. People that make real movies. Yeah. Now I really want to watch this.
Oh yeah, 78 minutes.
Great.
It's a full-length movie. It is.
I'm so used to having to suffer through like 4 hours of superheroes punching each other that I would love to watch.
You'd like to watch 1966 William Shatner speaking in Esperanto for 78 minutes.
That sounds beautiful.
This is why I like you, buddy. This is why we get along. This is good. This is good. See, ladies and gentlemen, this is what friendship looks like. Just bonding over what is possibly the worst movie ever made. This is real bad. It's unbelievably bad.
So you didn't like Discovery Season 3. I've had my soapbox. Please, take it back.
All right. So it's funny because, I mean, this is something that, we talk, we're friends. We've had conversations about this. And where Discovery Season 3 didn't work for me is not a problem for him. It's just, it didn't work for me in those same ways. I get the notes that you're hearing. I get what it was going for. For me, it didn't stick the landing. Yeah. I feel fundamentally the issue that I think I have with it is that while they had this opportunity with the third or fourth soft reboot of going 900 years in the future to clean the slate, to really start from any place they reasonably wanted to. They had nothing to define their story space other than that they were going to bring the Discovery and Michael Burnham into this place, and that it would probably still be broadly our galaxy. Yeah. That's awesome. It's a great idea. Like, to give a writer, that kind of a blank slate. It was a really good idea. Fantastic. Yeah. And then they just made season 1 again. I felt it was needlessly grimdark. I felt a lot of the conflict that was the challenges for the crew to resolve were resolved hastily and arbitrarily. And it was very, very, like, you described it as, hitting those notes of TOS where it can be ham-fisted. It didn't ring well with me. It felt more like we just wrote ourselves into a corner and here it's fixed.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say, I guess I'll just double down and say that it's like TOS in both good and bad ways.
Oh yeah. And I get that. Like, and I can see in some places totally that they're trying to do that. They tried to be a shining beacon, we're the guys that are we're gonna help rebuild the Federation, and we're the spark that kind of gets things rolling again. Okay, fantastic, great. Yeah. And I felt that it just didn't. I never felt like the Discovery got to that tier where any of it was terrifically engaging or like believable. Like, my suspension of disbelief was constantly challenged all through the show. Interesting. And then it's a shame because there's some parts of Discovery that I'm really, really impressed by. Doug Jones as Saru. Oh yeah. Amazing. I want to put him on another Star Trek show. Just another better Star Trek show. I've even Stamets, he's really grown on me over the course of the show. I kind of get what he's doing now, and I think he does it very well. Yeah. Jet Reno, fantastic. I think has pulled off the kind of gruff McCoy-esque, like, caustic country doctor vibe. Yeah. Better than anyone since DeForest Kelley. I love it. Every minute she's on screen, I'm into it. Yes. But I felt they otherwise largely kind of squandered the reboot and just didn't do too much with it. And then you end the season on the ascendancy of Michael Burnham, who spent the entire season vacillating between different loyalties and, periods of self-reflection of, what do I want in my life? And to me, it didn't feel earned. Like it didn't feel like it got there. Like I feel like the crew made some decent like character building moments.
Mm-hmm.
And you do get, especially in this season, more of a sense of an ensemble cast than you have in the rest of the show.
Yeah.
This is a show that is built around Michael Burnham, and I get that. But this season seemed to remember that there's like at least 8 other people on the spaceship.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's good.
Mm-hmm.
It helps carry the show.
It's adorable
that's why crew... like later TNG started working so well, because you did single character focus, but you only did it like one episode at a time.
Mm-hmm.
You shift it around. You have a Worf episode and a Riker episode and a Picard episode and a Data episode. Okay, cool. That you can move around your crew and get a kind of bigger picture of your world and still have those other characters come in and interact. That's not a problem.
Exactly. And the fact that the whole bridge crew acts as a single character is so cute.
Weird.
And I love it.
It's really, I kept expecting them to really do something with any one of those characters.
Nope.
As like an independent entity.
No, the bridge crew is the character. I mean, like,
what's amazing is that's like an ancient storytelling technique. That's the Greek chorus.
Yeah.
Just we have this group of characters that are everyone, that are any random people that we need. Just they're here.
Mm-hmm.
Look, we have them around to say things when we need it.
Yeah.
They don't really exist beyond that point.
No, I think your criticisms are totally reasonable and valid. I think that's a totally fair point about Burnham's ascendancy feeling. I don't know that I necessarily felt like it was unearned, but I definitely felt surprised that that's what was happening right then and there.
Right. Like,
and so in that regard, that is unearned.
I feel like they kind of did Saru dirty. Like they like really hustled him out of the plot just to make way for that.
But he was so good. He was becoming such an excellent captain that whole season.
He really was. This was the next guy that I saw as like, oh, look, a competent officer.
Yeah. Now, I do understand the desire for that to be Burnham's character, right? From the showrunner's perspective. And
right. Yeah.
But like you said, it didn't really feel.
But it's a little bit like the problem that they got into in season 2, where Pike and Spock were more popular than the main character.
Like, what if we start out season 4 and the first episode is a monologue of, gosh, a lot has happened over the past year or whatever. And Saru has really learned that he's getting more distant. And then that episode is Saru saying, I gotta go. And her becoming captain.
And what he just splits just 100%.
Yeah, like whatever they end up doing with them, they could do from that point. And then we get an episode explaining it, and then also it makes a little more sense why she's just suddenly in the captain's chair. Because that's a good thing, and we want her to end up there, and it just feels like that's
they've been building to this since the first episode. That's the whole point of this character's arc.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
watch Michael Burnham mature from young war-starting idiot to,
I do think,
whatever she is now,
that her character is going to settle down when we don't have 21 executive producers, and we don't have, that's not an exaggeration, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
And we don't have new showrunners every 6 episodes.
Yeah, I think those things would certainly help.
Yeah.
And again, to the credit of the actress, I really don't think she's put a foot wrong here. Like, no, I feel like, generally speaking, the cast, like everyone's showing up, everyone's, laying it out on the show. It's just, they do not have a ton to work with sometimes.
Well, and I see them, I get this sense sometimes that they're getting, the cast is getting kind of scrappy too. So I think they're getting kind of frustrated with maybe some of the criticism or whatever, but like they're really, I don't know. I thought people more than just showed up this season. Like Tilly felt like a whole new character. Like Tilly suddenly had this a massive like emotional context that I'm not going to say that she was bereft of before, but like Tilly is
Tilly's
suddenly
one
like
of those
3D.
characters I have a hard time liking just because she's like Ultra Barkley.
Yes, but this season I think, well, one, they did a ton of lamp shading.
Yeah, just and that's
yeah,
that's the stuff that drives me crazy about Discovery is that
that's fair.
They have the entire clean slate and they still have to explain away half their established.
So, and dear listener, if I just throw out some jargon you're unfamiliar with, lamp shading is exactly that. It's the writers making a almost fourth wall breaking kind of nod to the fact that they're writing something off.
Right. Also known as hanging a lantern on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're showing off.
You draw obvious attention to this thing that we all know that we're all talking about the thing.
Yep.
Out of character that, nod, wink, wink. This is why we don't have this anymore.
I mean, they did it with Jet Reno, I thought, to great effect when they said, where have you been? She's like, where have you been for like the past 6 months or whatever? She's like, I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Just I've been stuck in this.
Scrubbing out condoms.
Where have you jerks been? I've been kind of hoping somebody'd show up and just, be great.
But I do think that it's fair to find that annoying because it can be, because it's a trope and because, I took it as like some side-eyed, good-natured, like, okay, yeah, you're right. We're fixing things.
We're cleaning up.
Yeah. And I feel like, they did. To me, I feel like Tilly came alive this season because before she was absolutely Ultra Barkley, but giving her the first officer position.
Yeah.
I just kind of gave her a little more back and forth. And I don't know, the actor felt more comfortable in the role.
Okay.
And
sure.
More
I can see
inhibiting the character and maybe, and I don't know, maybe connecting more of themselves to the character. I'm not sure, but they just seem to be in
the cast does
more.
Especially the bridge crew do seem to be just kind of rolling with it at this point. Like, and again, not saying like they're not doing a good job. It does seem like they've settled into the roles that they have as much as they're going to, and they're just kind of doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think they're trying to sneak stuff in. Like they want to act so badly.
I mean, 3 or 4 of them, we literally, the only things we know about them are their names and that they're pleasant and
they like hanging out under trees.
And what station they stand at. That's it.
That guy's Dedimer clunked her head real bad that time.
Yeah, I kind of thought that they were going to do more with her, and I was.
Yeah, I thought that was building to something that seemed like an obvious setup for something.
Well, it was, but it was more like introducing the theme.
Yeah,
which I think was useful, but then it was just kind of like a very concrete, specific thing that we paid a lot of attention to just point out the abstract thing that's the fabric upon which all of this is woven, right? There's like some kind of like disconnect there.
Again,
it's like, here's a chicken. Now stop
the season
thinking about
3
a chicken.
As a whole didn't work for me, but it's more Star Trek, and I watched it. I know there's not a lot. There's not a lot that I can watch right now that says it goes 2 stars and Trek's about.
Now, what did you think were some of the missed opportunities?
I mean,
like, how salvageable is it? Was it just like, gosh, they're just not executing, or like, oof, let's do this over?
I think in general, the show is still trapped in this mindset of we need to make Discovery itself, and by extension, its main character, Michael Burnham, the most important thing in the universe. And that is not a good story beat, especially to maintain over a long period of time, because the credibility of it once is difficult to digest. But okay, you can certainly center your story around someone who was, at that pivotal moment in history kind of thing. Okay, sure, I get that. But then you probably shouldn't be just at a other further succession of all of the most historical events in history. And then you go to the future and you rebuild it all. No, just it's
a little big even for a show that loves its big heroes.
Right, that's the thing. It makes Michael Burnham's journey less enjoyable because I think it ends up pushing it into a place where it is ridiculous, and that's where, like I said before, where my suspension of disbelief breaks down, where it's so difficult to hand wave away all of the, oh, well, that doesn't really make sense. Or, well, wait, why were we doing this story over here when we could have been back talking to these people? No, it's fun. Wait, one phone call would have fixed this whole situation.
So here's a question. It sounds like, not all, but some of the things that that you find are kind of like deal breakers. And again, I think you're totally right in identifying these weaknesses. If this were the first season and they had not already spent their goodwill, do you think you would evaluate the season differently?
Yeah, because if this was a first season over again, which it really is, because, we keep using the term soft reboot, but that's, they are, narratively jumping the show up every season at least once, because that's just been what's happened.
Yeah.
But so if this had been like a fresh first season, it still would have had problems. Still would have had like story construction problems and definitely some editing problems. And I think a weird emphasis on like dumb pew pew rather than like satisfying pew pew.
Yeah.
It's something just seems like that's part of the flavor of this show.
You didn't like them senselessly murdering like dozens of guards at the Running Man prison planet.
That kind of stuff. Like that's where my suspension of belief breaks down, where it's just, no, I can't.
I will say that when
that's too much. That was the step too far.
I will say though, when Book's ship flew in through the smoke, I was like,
that was good.
That did look pretty cool though.
No,
it does seem grown and interesting.
They do have good moments. And that's why it kills me when they don't put them together coherently.
Yeah.
You see those moments in there, like, as the fleet captain said, Admiral Vance, whoa, where's this guy been?
Yeah.
I love this guy.
Yeah.
My dude in the first episode who's been, waiting at his desk for 40 years. I want to give that guy a hug.
I know.
Me
too.
That guy was great.
Yeah.
Get to hang up his flag and stuff. That was a nice little moment.
Yeah.
But it's just tough to like.
No, I get that. And I guess what I'm the kind of coloration of my glasses that I'm looking at it with is that I'm seeing it explicitly as a soft reboot. Like when I'm to the point where when I explain Discovery to people that maybe tried it or haven't decided against trying it, it's like, don't even watch the first 2 seasons.
Yeah, and that's what the fleet captain was saying, that this is similar to I think it's Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where a lot of people recommend you drop the first couple seasons.
Oh, that's interesting. I enjoyed those. But yeah, I could see that. But yeah, it's just kind of like, here's like a 10-minute YouTube explainer vid, just so you kind of understand the few things that they're going to reference. But other than that, you don't really need to know anything that happened before then. As long as you're willing to just treat this as a new TV show and accept that the characters have history.
They spend as much time as they're ever going to expositioning our characters again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody gets reestablished, at least in some small way.
Yeah.
And and then okay, here's our situation. We're dealing with the burn, which I'm not even going to get into.
Yeah, I still don't. I understand the burn phenomena and certainly the storytelling device. I'm still a little confused about why the boy.
Yeah, so he got the planet of dilithium and he got scared and everything exploded. And that doesn't explain in any way why civilizations that didn't have an engine technology based on dilithium crystals would have been affected, but it's fine. You know, we're gonna slide right past all of that, folks.
Well, I mean, some of it is definitely doing apologetics, but I think some of those concerns can be not dismissed, but they can be interpreted in such a way that it's like, this kind of makes sense still. Not that that's necessarily inherently valid, but I'm willing to give them that, at least, as for me personally.
Sure, I get that.
But I'm still like, typically when Star Trek sets up some kind of premise, like a seemingly impossible event,
sure,
of like instantaneous destruction of all dilithium-based ships everywhere, there's got to be some kind of payoff. I mean, like, they kind of sort of made some vague explanation in like a TNG season 6 kind of way about they're like, there's like, it's DNA, it's in there and he's connected to it. And
yeah,
it's like, okay, that's sort of something, but that doesn't explain how this phenomenon could travel faster than the speed of light.
My big, and I've said this before in the context of other shows, but it goes to my points about like why I have trouble watching the show like episode to episode, because it just keeps breaking down for me. Is sci-fi works best when you don't make the magic obvious.
Yeah.
It's really important.
Yeah.
And it was why TNG is actually surprisingly well written in places, because they make the technobabble flow so perfectly and consistently, episode to episode. The amount of like editing and work that they did from continuity on some of that stuff is crazy.
It's like, I don't know what they said, but that is the thing that they say when this sort of thing happens.
It was consistent episode to episode. Like, you got a sense that there was like someone thought of these things out and then
Do I
literally
know what a
figured out like,
is?
Okay, well, this part would be here and this part, this is how it works.
Yeah.
And then these guys went to class on that.
Mm-hmm.
But contrary to that, I find Discovery pulls the space magic way too often way too obviously for me to ignore that it is really just this is I'm going to wave a magic wand and it's going to work.
Oh yeah. I mean, again,
like, you didn't even try reversing the polarity, guys.
TOS in all the ways.
Yeah. And I mean, there are certainly those episodes of TOS. And one of the things that we have to compare, to be fair, about Discovery versus TOS. So I think Discovery, all told, is at like what number of episodes now? In the 30s?
Yeah, 33, 35, something like that.
Something like that, right? Yeah. So, maybe going back to the joke I made at the beginning of the episode, original show had 79 episodes and about 30 good ones.
Mm-hmm.
So by the same ratio, what are there, 3-4 good episodes in here? Would we be judging it by the same metric if they had just produced in the same volume?
Right.
The original Star Trek produced in?
Right. Well, and TOS has the benefit of being the first and groundbreaking. Discovery
can't beat being first.
Yeah. So, I mean, just because it's like TOS doesn't mean that it's good. It's just the manner in which I Well, anyway, folks, I think that does it for us. Thank you for listening to the PADDcast. We're still working on our intros and outros, so for now, this little placeholder will have to do, even though it's completely off the cuff.
Absolutely, but it has been a pleasure talking to you once again, 118, and we look forward to hearing your feedback on the Discord, on the forums, and on the lists. Hope you guys have a great time out there.
Yes, and see you on the 1st of March.